You're listening to a podcast, or actually a videocast from I'dRatherBeWriting.com. My name is Tom Johnson. Today I am talking with Kate Schneider. She is a Flare consultant and expert based in Colorado. Kate, can you introduce yourself a little bit? Tell us who you are and kind of what you do.
Hi, I'm a senior technical writer with Maxar. That's a space infrastructure and services company. I work for a division that we provide software that will let our government and commercial clients view satellite imagery and then analyze it. So it's pretty cool.
Wow.
I've been working with Flare since I think 2010, a long time, since version 6. And I've spoken at Mad World before. I'm speaking again here in the fall. And I was part of the Madcap Doc team for 2.5 years.
Oh, yeah. Wow. So you've actually written a lot of the documentation inside of Flare.
Including some of the search documentation. So, yeah.
Cool. Wow. So you really have a lot of immediate knowledge and close knowledge to Flare and just like the whole search aspect of it. That's cool. Mm-hmm. So you mentioned before the podcast that you're actually moving. Can you tell me, where are you headed, and are you going to be closer to Madcap or anything?
Well, we are moving back to San Diego. We lived there previously when I worked with Madcap before. But no, this is unrelated. My husband had a really good job offer there. We loved living in San Diego and have wished that we were moving back for a while. So when this opportunity came up, it was just like jump on it. And we got this offer the day after we had 14 inches of snow here, and we've since had like another 2.5 feet of snow. And so I'm really, really happy right now that we're moving back somewhere where it's warm. So
wow, that's cool. Yeah, I lived in California for a long time and really enjoyed it. The weather is you can't beat it. All right, so let's jump into our topic. We're going to talk a little bit about micro content, particularly in Flare, but just about micro content in general.
Yeah.
Can you, just to kind of set the foundation here, can you give us a high level definition of what micro content is and why somebody should care about it?
Sure. So micro content is a feature in Flare that lets you put in small standalone pieces of content. So you can go in and you can take this information and put that in there, and then it is part of your search. Mostly, you can use it in other contexts as well, like context-sensitive help or something. But mostly, it's in your search. And so when users go in and they search for something, it works in like a question-response way. So if they search for whatever they're searching for, if you have that phrase in there, Flare will pull up the information that you've provided that matches the phrase that they've searched on and put like a little box at the top with the information that you've provided. And people should care about this because it makes things easier for users to find information. It gives people their search results faster. They don't necessarily need to click into a topic unless they really want more detail. It just puts things right out there, right in front. So it's a great user experience for people.
Thanks. Yeah, and I think many people might be familiar with looking at snippets and other micro content in general search engines. Mm-hmm. Can you give an example of like a common snippet that somebody might see doing a search in an internet search engine and how that sort of relates to a similar snippet in Flare?
Yeah, so you see these all the time in different search engines, and you probably don't even realize that it's a micro content, as it were. Like if you're using Google, for example, and you search for something, you might see those the people might ask, or what people also ask, in those little questions that come up at the top. That's an example of a micro content type thing. And Flare actually offers the same idea where you can add questions or little drop downs like that. Google also sometimes will put pictures up at the top, to give just a quick example of something. I actually pulled up some examples here. If I can share my screen for a second.
Go for it.
Let me make sure I share the right thing because I've got so many. All right, so I am a dog lover, and so I pulled up. Are you seeing?
Yep, I can see it.
This one here? Okay, so I looked at Google, I looked at Bing, and I looked at Yahoo. Those were like the only three search engines I could think of. I also thought of like Alta Vista, which I don't even think exists anymore. I was like, okay, 1997 here. So you're looking at this, and so like this box, this dog box here, this is an example of some micro content. And so you just get this basic information about dogs. You get some pictures. Down here, you've got some videos. You've got, your people often ask. I'm going to disagree that the cutest dog breed is a French Bulldog because I have Westies and they're obviously the cutest ones. And then in Bing, you have can you see the Bing?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Very similar stuff. You've got some pictures of dogs down here. And this really cool looking sidebar here with really cool little illustrations. This is great. I really like this one. I don't use Bing very often, so I was kind of excited to see how neat this was. And then Yahoo has the same idea, this little box here too, with this information. So it's just all this quick at a glance stuff that you can just see and like, oh, okay, now I know what a dog is if I didn't know what a dog was before. And then if I really want some more information, I can, pull up some of this other information here. And looks like it's mostly about invisible fences or, dog breeds and find out some more details about dogs.
Thanks for showing the examples of like dog in the search engine. I think that really brings the topic to light because you can see pictures, the information seems to be structured in different categories, and it's really visually presented and balanced. Actually, before this podcast, I was trying to brush up and understand like how do internet search engines gather snippets and how do I snippetize my own website content and so on, and started reading about schema.org and the markup and other information about how the search engine controls it. You don't really control it, and they don't guarantee that anything you write will be inside of a snippet and so on. So it seems like, you can try to tag your content with semantic tags and hope that it makes it in there, but really you don't have a lot of control about it. And when we're creating content, we want more control about that search experience, right? Especially if you're generating an output that has its own search integrated into it, then for sure you want to be able to kind of control the snippets and what gets snippetized. Can you tell me a little bit about how Flare handles micro content? What kind of media can you put in there?
Sure.
And just kind of give us an overview of that.
Yeah. So in Flare, you definitely have complete control over what's happening with your micro content. You don't have to worry about it being random. So you can put pretty much whatever kind of media you want in there. I'm going to share my screen again here. I'll show you an example from my own project.
Cool. I like that you have all these examples.
I know. I really put all this stuff together this morning. Like, I'm going to be on this, man. So I have a few different kinds of micro content in here. I set mine up very similar to the way that if you've ever watched any of the webcasts that Paul has done about micro content through Madcap, I set mine up in a very similar way. So these are just mini landing pages. I call them. It's just like little micro topics, I guess. And so, like I mentioned before, it works in like a phrase and response way. So if you look here in this left side box, these are some phrases that people might type in. And they just have to type in any word. So like this one here, if they type in, you see the little hover over, could see the little hover over, downloading imagery, download Aspera, any of those words. If someone types in any one of those words, it'll pull up this box here about downloading imagery. And it isn't formatting it very well because I have this kind of shrunken down to size, but and then they'll see this content here about downloading imagery. And then let me show you this one here. This isn't formatted really great because you can't see my multimedia in this piece. I'll switch over to this in a second here. But this particular one on explore mode, this has a GIF in here, and some information, some relevant topics, so people can, read this little tiny thing here about explore mode, go in and click one of these topics and then see a GIF about it. Let me pull over this, grab this other window here and switch over to this window. Hang on. Let's see. 1 second. Let me find my other window here. Let's see. Search
it's really
results.
cool while you're pulling that out. It's really cool to see actual examples. It's rare that we get to see inside of somebody's real help project, and it puts a lot of credibility behind what you're saying because you actually have experience doing it.
Can you see my search results boxes here?
Yeah, I can.
Okay.
See.
All right. I'm in the right one then. Okay, so I've got 3 different examples here of some search results and some examples. So this first one here, if someone searches for multispectral imagery, it's going to pull up this piece of micro content, and this has just a regular image. I think this one's cool because it's pretty colors. It shows it's a false color composite image of a mine. So you see just this blue is land and all this pink is mining. And then there's a couple of links that go out to the topics about multispectral imagery, and you can collapse it and whatever. And it's just a little faster. If you just want a little bit of information about multispectral imagery, you can see this and you just get that. Or you can click into these topics down here and read more information about it. And then right here is a glossary term about multispectral imagery. And then this one here, this one is a cool one. This is about how to exploit imagery, which lets you, basically take a picture and then change its color around so that, kind of like Photoshop for your satellite imagery. So you can see it and go in and tweak it to change how it looks, kind of like the multispectral stuff. So if you want to look at mines or, whatever. But anyway, and we've got this little GIF that just shows high level how to do it. And then basic steps, high level how to do it. If you want more information, this is like a 28-step process. If you want all the details, you can go in there, you can click more details and actually read the topic. But if you just want a quick refresh, here's the basic steps on how to do it. Here's a quick GIF on how to do it.
Wow.
And then this one here is a kind of my version of people also ask, some frequently asked questions that our support team was getting a lot about logging in. And because we've got a million different topics about logging in, but then we were also getting all these questions about what happens if I don't log in for 60 days? What then? So here's some FAQs that people were asking. So you can click any of these. You can find out information about that. And then, here's some support information, whatever. And you can just get those details pretty quickly. If someone types in login or reset my password or any of those things, lockout, any of those things will pull up this FAQ.
Wow, that's pretty cool. I'm kind of curious what your process is for creating micro content. Do you create, like, for every long form topic, do you also create a short form micro content, or are you looking at analytics to look at like top contenders for micro content?
Sure. Mostly I look at analytics to kind of figure that out. Madcap Central connects directly to Flare, and you can see based on your targets, some of your outputs, what is a common search, what common search terms there are. And then so if someone is searching for login and you don't have micro content, you can say, oh, I've got 100 people searching for the word login or 100 people searching for reset my password, and I guess I need some micro content because people want to see this information. And I don't always create them for every long topic because a lot of my long topics are boring, and I don't think a lot of people are going to search on all of them frequently anyway. But if there's something that's a big new feature, like when that exploit mode came out, I knew that this is a big, fancy, shiny new feature. People are going to search on this. They're going to see it in our release notes. They're going to want more information. So here's something that this needs more information about this. This needs a little fancy box at the top. So I definitely created some for that. Sometimes I'll get stakeholder feedback that, they think this is something that I might not think it's a shiny new feature, but they really want additional information about it. So I'll, throw some micro content that way. Or support will let us know that they've been getting a lot of customer calls about something, and then I'll go in and I'll put that in there. Especially because support is one of my biggest users of my documentation. So I create my docs for support as much as I create it for my end users, because they're going in, they're using the docs, and then passing that information along to people who call in. So it makes it easier for them too, if they can go in and they type in login and they need information about what happens if you get locked out, or what happens if you're inactive for 60 days, then they can find that information really fast, pass it on to a customer, and let them know what's going on. Wow,
that's pretty cool.
Yeah,
I can tell you really are using this. Like you deeply use this throughout your process. I'm kind of curious, do you even take it to the next level where you look to see what the before and after impact is of a keyword or of the micro content? Let's say the login, for example. Do you ever capture analytics before you added login micro content and after to see if, like, I don't know, number of queries were reduced, or maybe, I don't know, some kind of impact of the micro content? I know that's really a difficult thing to measure. But...
Yeah, it is kind of a difficult thing to measure. We don't really track that so much. It would be great if we did track that more, like in terms of, are we getting fewer support calls or anything like that? But we just don't track that. I'm sure that there are some people who do track that more, but we really don't.
Yeah. What about content reuse? Because this is a huge feature that Flare came out with, right? I mean, you obviously don't want to be creating little snippets that are duplicates of information that exists in your long form topic. You want to try to single source the two. Do you use do you reuse the content? Do you use conditions?
I do, absolutely. With micro content, you can reuse content in a lot of different ways. You can link directly to a full topic if you want to. You can link to a bookmark within a topic. You can link to snippets that you already have created, or you can just create new stuff if you want to do that. Mostly for me, I link to snippets. That's the easiest way for me to do it. And a lot of times I take the snippets that I have existing already, and then I just plug those into like a separate micro content snippet. It's easier for me to manage it that way because I've got different styles and whatever. So I take my existing snippets and then I put them in a micro content snippet and just edit it in there. It's kind of a kludgy way to do it, but it works for me, I guess. So then within that, I showed you a few minutes ago. I'm going to share my screen again and just keep sharing the same thing over and over again. All right, you see my project again here. So, all right, so like all these little green and purple boxes, these are things that are reused in a couple of different areas, 2 different outputs. And then down here, these are my micro content snippets. And so, you can see like this one here is used in 4 different outputs. Just different things to reuse actual, the actual content. And then if I open up, let's try this one. Oh, we're going to view it in print mode for some reason. There's no reason to do that. I didn't find an example of this beforehand, so it's going to take me a minute to find something that has snippets in it. I just actually wrote that. Okay, here's one. This is that explore mode that I referenced before. This is a snippet block right here. This is just the piece of the introduction that I use in my actual explore mode topic. It's not the entire topic. It's just a section of that introduction topic. So this is just direct reuse from that. So it's not any new stuff. The only thing that's new here is this relevant topics in this little GIF that I have. So
do you feel that you're going above and beyond the call of duty by trying to make snippets appear in the search experience? A lot of tech writers just sort of feel they don't have the bandwidth to sort of shape the search experience, but you're obviously doing it. Does it take a lot of time to do this, or are you thinking about the search experience more in depth than other writers?
For me, we have a quarterly release cycle. And so I always have a little bit of time at the end of my release, or at the end of my release, like at the beginning of the release, I suppose, where it gets a little slower for me. So I have some time in that piece of the release before I start getting features and stuff from my product owners. And that's a great time for me to go in and focus on some of this stuff, whether it's building out search or going in and cleaning up other things within the project or whatever. That's when I do all this. I try as I'm writing new topics, if I know it's something that's going to be a big shiny feature, I try to make sure I add stuff in at that point. But if it's going in and analyzing Central and looking at Central for what needs to be, where does micro content need to be added, that's when I do it. I go in when I'm slow, when I've got extra time. So I know that's not true of everybody. There are people who are on a monthly release cycle or 2-week release cycle or whatever, and they are probably just a little more hectic. So yeah, I don't know. I don't want to say I'm going above and beyond, because that's not accurate. It's just a thing that I do.
It seems like Flare's really put a lot of emphasis on micro content in their last couple of releases. Like, this has been highlighted and foregrounded as a major feature. Yeah. Even though I don't see too much other buzz about it in other tools. Do you have any thoughts on why you think Madcap puts a lot of emphasis on micro content? Is this like a key differentiator? Is this something they see that aligns with the future and chatbots and other conversational kind of digital touch points?
Yes. As far as I know, Madcap, this was something that I don't want to say came up with, because obviously this exists in regular search engines, but this is something that they integrated into their tool before any other documentation tool has done that. And I'm not familiar enough with other documentation tools right now to say if there are others that have gone in and done this since, but this was like Madcap's thing. So, they're really excited about this. This is a cool new thing. And this is, it's like I said before, it's great for user experience. It's awesome for quick searches. It's really good for mobile and tablets, which of course is, everyone's using their phones to search for stuff. So if you're, building out a site that's going to be mobile friendly, it's good to have that, just quick thing you can look at without having to look at the whole help system. And, as tech writers, we make things easy. We want to make things easy. It's what we do. So it's a great thing to add to a documentation tool. And I definitely think that's a good reason for Madcap to push it, because it just emphasizes everything else they already do. I mean, Flare is a big, complicated program, but everything in it just makes, documentation easier, I think. So.
Well, Kate, thanks for taking the time to kind of sit down and chat with me. I just realized the background, your Zoom background is satellite imagery, right?
It is, yes.
Okay. I thought it was art at first, but it's actually...
isn't it pretty? This is, it's some color enhanced imagery north of San Diego, around Escondido. And it is, I'm pointing at it. You can't see me pointing at it because I'm pointing at it on my screen, but it's the red is vegetation, and then the green is pavement and dirt and everything else. So anything red is trees or bushes or anything.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah.
I've been sort of digging into maps lately and just trying to understand the domain more. So it's neat that you're like working in satellite imagery and all this stuff. I mean, there's certainly so much there, and I would be excited to be a user of help that you produce. Like I would love to, check out some of the, maybe you could share a link if it's public.
Yeah, it's, you can check out securewatchdocs.maxar.com.
Okay.
And you can check that out.
Yeah, I'll definitely point users to it. Is there any other topics that you wanted to cover that we didn't talk about already today?
We talked a little bit about the central analytics. I did pull up those, and I can share my screen and just show them.
Yeah, I know that analytics are kind of key. You mentioned that it's how you, in part, decide what to make micro content
right
topics from.
Yeah, so this is from the Secure Watch documentation. And this just shows, just the phrases people are searching on. And here, so like, for example, WMS is something that someone might search on. It's, one of our API things. And so that has micro content. You see the checkbox here. But for some reason, I don't have one for WFS. I could have sworn I put one in. So I came in and I looked at that today. I'm like, oh, okay. I guess I'm doing that tomorrow. So, because there's no micro content here for that. And we've got people searching on it. So that's something I will be doing. It looks like, for the most part, I've got micro content here on most of these other top ones, which is good. One other thing that that I have set up is I have all my translations. We translate our Secure Watch documentation anyways into 11 languages. And we have 2 sets of Secure Watch documentation. So there's 22 translated pieces. And so I've been checking out all of the analytics on those as well. And this is the Spanish. And it's interesting to see the search phrases that are different and how, obviously, I don't have micro content for some of these, even though it's some of the same content, like exploit image. I have exploit in there, but the search phrase is different. So that's something I need to maybe add this to my existing search phrase. And for some reason, it's not showing up. I just noticed this exploit is not showing up here. So I don't know why that is. Maybe it's just a translation thing. I don't know. And that might be something I need to address with my translators if they're, translating the word exploit differently, or I don't know. So there's some stuff to look into here.
It's interesting to look at this. It looks like a lot of people search for acronyms or unfamiliar things like the WMTS and the WMS, QGIS.
Yeah, they're unfamiliar to you, but they're, for people who are using our documentation, they're just normal things to search for.
I mean, it seems like a glossary would be great to add in there, right? Because you really quick...
and those things do exist. So we do have a glossary for that, and those things are in the glossary. So people should be finding that, at least if they're searching for WMS or QGIS, they'll find the glossary term that'll come up at the top. So
I really like this view of the analytics. I mean, it presents a very actionable and understandable view of what are people searching for, what kind of results are they getting, and what kind of micro content plugs into it. So yeah, that's pretty cool. And I like that Flare provides that integrated solution between the content.
Yeah, it's really useful. And I use Google Analytics for some of my content, and that's helpful for seeing some stuff, but for seeing this really documentation specific information, I mean, this can't be beat. This is really, really useful. And it was very helpful for me to go back and show this information to my stakeholders and say, here is this, you can see this. This is specifically about the documentation. And that's great for them to see that people are actually using it and using it in the translations and everything too. So that's good for me and good for them.
Yeah. Often when I look at my own analytics, whether my personal site or work sites, I see lists of terms and I never quite know what to do. If I were looking at this list of terms, I might think, I've already got these defined in the docs. What am I supposed to do? Like write new articles on PCM or Vivid or something, right? Just using your terms as an example. Yeah. But at least with micro content, you've got some kind of action you could take and say, well, okay, this is what I'm going to do. I'm going to create a dozen micro content snippets for these things or something. So that's kind of cool.
And that was something I did last year. It was like right around, the end of the year, like a week before I was taking some time off for Christmas. And I was just, dead. There was nothing for me to really work on at that point. Everyone was kind of shutting down and going on break. I was like, okay, well, what am I going to do? And I came in here and I pulled up, I had like 60 terms that I just listed out, and I kind of figured out which ones were most important, which ones I cared about most. I looked at these last search dates because some of them were, 6 months old. No one had searched on them in ages. And some of them were really fresh. And I found the ones that were the freshest and had the most search results, and I just pulled out like 20 of them, and I just wrote up some micro content, and that's what I did that week. And it was great, and a lot of those have had some good hits since then. So,
Well, cool.
yeah.
All right. Well, Kate, thank you so much for chatting with me. Is there any kind of website you want to point users to? I don't know if you have a Twitter handle or anything that you particularly want to share.
I have a Twitter handle, but I haven't used it in like a million years. So you can go to @Kate Schneider if you really want to and read my tweets from like 10 years ago. I was an early adopter of Twitter and got bored with it pretty fast. So yeah, I should start that again maybe. But you can find me on LinkedIn.
Okay.
Or, yeah.
Yeah, and knowing that you're going to San Diego, I'm sure that local meetups and chapters would love to have you talk. So hopefully you'll be on their radar.
I'd be glad to speak with anyone. So
all right, thanks again for this video cast. And if people want to know more about micro content, I'll add a bunch of links in the show notes, including some of the links that Kate shared. And thanks again for listening.
Absolutely, thank you.